This is going to be incongruent, and I almost thought of not doing it this way at all. Um, just skipping one of the subjects. Um, okay.
Say, huh?
So it looks like right now Twitch is. There we go. So it looks like right now Twitch was behind, which is odd. Hard to believe, really. Okay, so incongruent. I'm anti-war. This invasion is terrible. There's all kinds of reasons. I probably have been watching Ukraine, and I'm no expert on it, but I've been paying attention my whole life since around 11 or 12, 13. Um, so I remember these various stages when they were giving up their nuclear weapons under the promise of never being invaded and things like that. Um, and the Obama escapades and all of that. But war's really bad, obviously, but for some reason people get really clever justifying this endeavor. Um, I was thinking about not talking about it at all because it is incongruent with. I'm going to go over to the FlipGrid stuff. But when videos can be leaked from wars, even just old on film type videos, you get some really distressing stuff. Let's look at this first. Now, this is alleged, I don't know, but here is supposedly a Russian jet firing on the ground in a neighborhood.
Я не бачу. Ой, Боже. Я не бачу. Ой, Боже.
And this, like, if you're in a war, theoretically, the rules of war, it's like, yeah, if you have to shoot somebody because they're shooting at you or whatever, or you're taking something over and blah, 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 but you're not supposed to do this.
Вот урод. Вот урод.
And the thing is, so there's an old guy in that car, and he managed to survive. I guess they make Eastern European cars out of steel still or something. So this one they have the guy blurred out. I saw another one. His upper torso was fine. I heard people say he was doing pretty well, but like that's pretty brutal. I mean, and I'm anti-war, but it just goes to show you, like in this case, you think maybe they'd go in and go, "Welcome back to the Union, comrades." No, they're treating them like, "Hey, we're here to bully every single one of you." Guy's driving along on the road. He might have a reason to. He's worried about his daughter. He's who knows why. He didn't know there was going to be a tank. He should have stopped and turned around, or how is he supposed to know what? And it's like he's not fighting you guys. He's giving in. Okay, you're the new government. I'm really surprised that they did this because economically it doesn't seem smart. The kinds of sanctions they've had have just been inconveniences compared to what is probably going to keep happening now. And they're not going to look good. This kind of stuff always comes out, And the Russians themselves are not a bunch of citizens that are for this kind of thing, so I don't think. They can get all caught up in nationalism like every nation does. But nobody wants to see this. Well, I probably shouldn't have shown it all. This map you can easily find, but the live UA map, pretty interesting. It's got all these things, whatever's going on. It's got the videos.
Три вертолета вот приземлилось в Николаеве только что на Темводе. С этой стороны, со стороны соляных завода 61-го. И бой уже идет.
Oops. I deleted it. Okay. Sorry, I just have to open the FlipGrid, where the second thing. Like I said, it was incongruent. It's in the FlipGrid. Yeah. No, evidently not. It's having trouble loading, you guys. It doesn't like it. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. Oh, John, you're going to make a video? I consider that a personal victory. I'm winning. Woot woot. Good. All right, suggest in comments here things you want me to open as topics, because I'm open to that. But this system, it makes you have to trust somebody a lot in order to, let them make topics. Okay, so we have these three topics. There's here you're supposed to introduce yourself, understanding others, and I have a hit. It's Barklord. So we'll go look at that. And then I have this fictionalizing amazing ideation. Not entirely remembering what I said. So, first of all, understanding others, my video. Then a reply, boom. By the way, you can't make just text replies. However, if you make a video, even a 1 second video, then you can make a text reply. And people say if you get the app, you can make text replies. That's what people are saying. Logical guy. But if you make just a 1 second video on the web app, you can then add text to it. Not that I want to encourage that. I want to make videos. Oh, and it looks like I make a limit, and evidently I made the limit 5 minutes in this case. So I'll pay more attention to that. We're experimenting. I just found this. I haven't used it prior to making these two topics. The one, hello, who am I, was built in. So let's watch. Should we start with my original video? Yeah, let's do. Why not?
Okay, topics like this propose questions, and this is a question, but also a guideline. The guideline.
Oops.
Okay, topics like this propose questions, and this is a question, but also a guideline. The guideline, I'll just state really quickly, which is the point of the Discussioneers is to have a discussion. We are trying to find out each other's opinions. When you tell people your opinions, you might affect their opinions, you might convince them, but the point is to find out their opinions and get all of the opinions on the table. And then if we're going to discuss and make a decision about something, which isn't really our job, but let's say we're trying to make a decision about something, do we support this, do we support that, then we would vote and find out from all of the opinions we've discovered which ones overlap. Now the question is, and I'm going to assume this is true, or presume it, I guess, why do people have such trouble understanding other people's positions and in fact often don't want to do it? Now my theory is it works like this. The brain is like a computer. The ideas are like programs. People don't want to consider, like, let's say you have a Christian capitalist. They don't, some of them don't want to consider what it's like to be an atheist socialist because they would take like a hat. They would create a magic hat that makes, when you put it on, it makes you think a certain way, right? So this magic hat, you build it. Oh, it's going to make me think like a atheist socialist. They're worried they'll put that hat on and they'll forget to take it off, and they'll just become that. They'll be running that program. The program then is taking over the computer while it's running, and it might never give it up. I think that's what people are worried about, to learn something. And so many people say, oh, you don't understand me. If you understand me, you'd agree with me. People think that to understand something is to agree with it. And to understand something that's wrong would be to agree with something that's wrong, and that's what they're afraid of. Now, in my case, I think that that's fairly accurate. That could happen. You could forget to take the hat off. Or now that you have the program could even be smart enough that, like, I'm never taking this hat off. But what I do is when you have received opinions from outside, you run them in a virtual machine. Now, I'm a computer engineer type person. A virtual machine is a piece of software that pretends to be a machine. And when you run software inside it, it thinks that's the machine, but really it's just in this little virtual machine. Therefore, you can run software in there and you could let it get infected by viruses and you can just watch and go, oh, look, that's what's going on. And if it gets out of hand, you can just throw it away. And that's what you should do when you're trying to understand people's ideas. You should install them in a little virtual machine. You can put that hat on, but you still have the host operating system, which is a hat underneath it. It allows you to take these hats and move them around all that you want. So the question is, why do you think people don't like to understand other people's ideas? Why do they resist it? Why is it so difficult for them? And then also, you're expected to try to understand people's ideas here. That's a part of the point of discussion hearing. Cheers.
Okay, so that's what I opened the
Okay.
topic with. And here is Barklord's reply.
Hey, Piero. Yeah, this looks like an interesting way to go about it, a very workable website. So I'll just respond to your hat idea with respect to ideas. You know, basically what you're saying is that people identify. They overly identify with thoughts and feelings and the feelings that are associated with those thoughts. And so it's like a hat or a piece of clothing, something that you put yourself in. And you know, you feel like vulnerable perhaps if you take that off. And so like part of your identity is missing. People don't think of their thoughts as being interchangeable. Most people feel like they own their thoughts, I think, or maybe many people, especially if they're Christian.
Oh, unmute myself. Fine, you love that, John, when I do that. Anyway, so the thing that you had brought up that I hadn't thought about, I've watched this a couple of times, but is the ownership of the narrative. Because people feel like they want to own their ideas. I have a cat. They want to own the ideas, but really they're running the ideas, and so the ideas own them. And I was also pointing out that I think of these ideas as programs. What they are is cognitive frames. So a cognitive frame is a set of roles and the interactions between the roles. And basically it's like a narrative, but more like something that generates narrative. So it generates stories like a hospital. You have doctors and nurses and patients and orderlies and all of these roles and the way they're supposed to interact. And it's like a story, but it's actually a meta story. Like there's a lot of different stories you can tell within that narrative. A particular narrative, like a particular medical TV show, would choose a particular path. And that framework really generates narratives. Right? So that's what a program is. So this program you run as a human being is generating a narrative. We as the human being follow the narrative. How do you remember to, oh, I was just putting this hat on for size. How do you put it over to the side? And part of it is that you feel like you own it, but it's owning you. The more concise version of this is at FlipGrid, where I can only do a 5-minute reply.
And capitalists, like you say, they probably inherited a lot of those ideas. And so it's part of a tradition that extends back even further than just themselves. And so they feel like they're losing some kind of power. So identifying strongly with the belief is powerful. The more interchangeable or discardable the ideas might be, the less they build up power and momentum and inertia in society, right? That's why conservatism is very powerful, is because it's trying to maintain that which is already the status quo.
So because of the time limit there at FlipGrid, and I think that was a good thing, but here's a sort of an offshoot or one of the worms in the can of worms of what are you thinking about when you're talking about ideas that are easily discarded? Because I could think ideas easily discarded, pop culture things, and that's, boom, on to the next thing tomorrow. Or I kind of thought you meant things that maybe are easily discarded, but people shouldn't be discarding them. They should be thinking about them. So what do you mean? Because this is kind of a can of worms, and I'm curious if you're thinking of something particular there, but maybe you're not, in which case I do understand the concept that you're bringing up. It doesn't matter the detail. But if you have an example, I'm curious what you're talking about. I do feel like somehow our culture probably is, or maybe it's a good way of describing part or one of its problems, that there is something easily discarded, like healthy food, easily isolated from your life, that shouldn't be, right? But what is the example?
One thing I thought of when you were talking about the Christian and capitalist union of ideas is what happens to a Christian when you say, a Christian capitalist, when you say, what is more important to you, the capitalism or the Christianity? You would think that they would say that Jesus, or that belief system of Christianity, however they believe in it, is more important than capitalism. But a lot of times I think they believe that they're somehow synonymous. And
Absolutely. That's why what they say is, look, if capitalism was good enough for Jesus, then it's good enough for me.
that seems weird to me because there's nothing about capitalism in the Bible. If anything, it's very anti-possessions and maybe not anti-money, but it's about minimizing the importance of worldly possessions
For sure.
and power in this world.
Indisputably true.
Here's Odin.
Praise dog.
Messy garage here. So anyway, just some thoughts here. That's what I think. Very similar probably to what you think, but I might use
Alley.
less programmer language, obviously. So take it easy.
All right, cool. So this is the conversation over at FlipGrid. The links are down below.
Hey, Piro. Yeah, this looks like
So, and I have...
Hey, Piro. Yeah, this looks like
And I have responded as well. What? I added a second one, but maybe I didn't do it right. Oh, for fuck's sake. Oh well. All right. Go over there. Do the conversation over there. Help us learn how this